よし。やります。開始。音を、あ、これパスボタンか。マウスハンドとかあんの？解説モード。入れとくか。字幕。反転はしなくて OK。え、音はゲーム音声は選べない？もしかして。マジかよ。結構うるさくないこれ。どうしようか。ちょっと待って。少しもマシにならないか。うーん。マイクレベル上げるか。これならまだいけるか。とりあえずやるか。
Hi, my name is David Whaley, and I'm the creator of The First Tree.
What?
I also voice a character named Joseph. So I just wanted to introduce you to this commentary mode, tell you that you can find interesting things about how I made this game by touching the speech bubbles you see in the world. So I hope you enjoy it.
Enjoy? 全然わかんなかったぞ、今。字幕つけてたよな。来た。起き上がった音が聞こえた。
I'm awake. Sorry, I
これ
just
誰と？
can't sleep.
キツネ。ジャンプできるやん。
Yeah, a bit. Usually get back to sleep, my love.
誰と誰が会話してるのこれ。
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life.
雪山でキツネを見たんだ。少し困惑していて心配そうだった。なんだかあの目がどうにも忘れられなくて、風が強い中彼女は何かを探して走っているんだ。これは別に主人公のこのキツネが誰かと会話してるみたいなやつではねえんだ。
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days. That's all.
夢？
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me.
なんか
I want to hear.
童話みたいな物語系の読み聞かせしてるってこと？どうすんだ？どこ行くんだ？急に始まったけど。ジャンプ、二段ジャンプできんのもしかして。すげえ、二段ジャンプできんじゃん。ほんとだ。これ走るのはどうやねん。これがズームと。オッケー。走れん。綺麗。キツネ。なんかチベットスナギツネみてえな顔してんだこいつ。広いね。 なんか前からのビーコンみたいなやつが光ってるの。あそこ行けばいいのかな。雪山か。走りてんだけど。遠いな。眩しい。あれ、あっちにもビーコンみたいなのあんな。あっち行けばよかったのかな。まあいいか。なんだあれ。とりあえず前進んできちゃったけど。足跡かわいい。へえ。なんかノイズみたいな音するなこれ。何あれ。おーおーカラスめっちゃいる。I made this game.
So it's usually at this point where people say something like, "This is not the kind of game I was expecting." And that happened a lot at PAX West when I showed it. We'd have little kids play it, but then they see a dead fox cub, or a kit is technically the word, but cub sounds, I don't know, it sounds better. Like Wes Anderson uses it in Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I thought cub would be alright. But anyway, having this game, I wanted it to be more serious. This game is based on dealing with the death of my father, which is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me and my family. But I don't want to talk about it here, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody really to this day still. It's very personal. And that's why I made this game. That's exactly the reason. Because I wanted to get those feelings out and like communicate with people without like talking about it. And so that's what the first tree is. It's me dealing with my feelings, and it was a personal project, and it was just me. And actually, like, I'm really glad I made it, but it wasn't easy to make, I guess is what I'm saying.
So, not far from her home, she followed that path
ここからあま
to
り遠くないと
something
ころで彼女は
unexpected.
予測できないものへと続く
She
道を
couldn't
たど
stay
るんだ。
though. She had to
他の
find
2
her
匹
other
の子
two
供たち
children.
も探さなきゃいけなかった。
So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
他の2匹の子供、もう1匹3匹いる中の1
Fox
匹は
looked
もう
high and low,
死ん
searching
でた
for
ってこ
any
と。
sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient
光の
tree.
点が現れある木へ
It
と
was
指し
as if
示し
each
たん
one had
だ。
a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story too.
何これ。
I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
原神みたい。ああ、めっちゃ散らばってんな。なんだなんだそれ。あ、ウサギやれ。これ攻撃できない？攻撃できねえじゃん。なんだ
Bunnies were added
Bunnies.
because my wife, Elise, who
My
also
wife.
voices Rachel in the
Bunnies
game,
is my wife.
who's also helped a ton to make the game. As we were playing, she just said the world felt kind of empty and not alive enough. So I knew we needed to add some kind of life. And so the bunnies was like the first idea that came to mind. And like most of the game, I use like, publicly available assets to speed up production because I was working full time along with making this game, and we just had our first baby, a little girl named Evelyn. So I was messing with this asset called Herd Sim, and at one point, like, the generation script that creates variations of the sizes of the bunny. One time I got out of control and made like this monster bunny that towered over everybody. And I shared that GIF on Imager and Reddit, and that was a huge hit. It helped definitely gain an audience for this game. But it's hard because this game is like so serious. It's about
My
life
story
and death, not
box
giant bunnies.
box
But I knew I needed something, like a shout out to that, because it was pretty fun. So if you're able to catch all the bunnies on this map, I think there's around 13, then you'll get a special
なんかいろいろ
surprise.
光ってるな。
Good luck.
グッドラック。グッドラックじゃねえんだ。My
I
box.
feel like one of the best ways to make an exploration game feel worth it, or to reward the player, is to have as many secrets as possible.
割れてるな。
Like some of my favorite games, like Dear Esther and Gone Home and Firewatch.
いいのかこれ合
I
ってる
love those story-driven games. And they're kind of like these mystery boxes where if you put in a lot of effort, if you look closely, the world reveals itself to you better. So there are like secrets in the first tree. See if you can find one of these hidden items by digging around in these unmarked spots around this area.
悲しげな音楽。これ何？なんだこれ？ん？掘れる？へ
As a
え。
kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once.
Trophy
When I was in the
getter.
4th grade. You know how my life was around
小
then.
学4年生？
I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me. So
鶴
I
を折っ
brought a
た。
dozen paper cranes I had made.
もうこれ
I think
よ
I
ろしい。
told
これ
everyone how
これ何の？
badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad. A
その
wooden
話の
boat.
内容
I
のやつ
remember
かこれ。
guarding it so carefully in my hands as I
おもちゃの
walked into
船。
class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in,
おもちゃの船
why
だよ
an
ねこれ。
ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friends had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
子供って残酷ね。
I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
次は他にもあったよね、なんか光ってるやつ。急に走れなくなった。走れる時と走れない時の差って何だ？ロケットみたいなのがある。何あれ？遊具？あ、登れる？あ、なんかある。取れた。8、9。おー、滑り台か。楽しいやつじゃん。事前情報なしでこれ始めてるけど、この喋ってる人たちの記憶思い出みたいな、夢の中みたいな感じなのかな。あ、なんだ、石？あっちもめっちゃ光ってるな。走りてえんだけど走れん。ずーっと雪景色だな。あ、ラテお兄さんこんにちは。あれ、学校は大丈夫なの？こんな時間にここ来ちゃって。あ、白熊さんもこんにちは。すごいゆったりゲーム。あ、今昼休みか。そっかそっか。
相変わらず声して。
あざっす。超寝起きでめっちゃ声低いけど今余計にガサガサだけど。 これなんなんこの原神みてえな光ってるやつ。あざっす。褒められちゃったからね。褒められちゃったからちょっとねやる気出ちゃうよね。これで結局どこ行けばいいんだ。一切なんか矢印とか出るわけじゃないから、音楽楽しんでくれみたいな注意書きみたいなのあったけど、なんかあっちにもあるな、あれビーコンみたいな。めっちゃあるなこれ。広いぞ結構マップ。あっちもあるな。どこから行った方がいいんだこれ。とりあえず遠いとこから行ってみるか。おそらくちゃんと情報を見ずにやったから多分そうだと思うんだけど、なんかほぼストーリーがないっぽいなんか感動のストーリーを味わってくださいみたいな説明書いてあったけど、ちょっと今のところそのかけらがあんまりない。
なんか音楽といいスカイを連想させられました。
確かにスカイもこんなゲーム。でもあれちょっとあんまりやってないんだよな。あれも面白いらしいね。なんだっけ、スマホ版出てなかったっけか。あれをちょっと一瞬、ほんの一瞬5分ぐらいやってやめちゃった。なんかよくわかんなくて。なんかあるぞ。走らせてくれ。走らせてくれ。お狐のケツを見せています。これ。いつもならああいう子供が突っかかってこないんだが。原住民。自分が掘ったおもちゃがダサかったのかもしれないと予想してたんだろうな。あの後戦車を彫刻して軍人として中に乗るのがどんな感じだったかって話をし、パパ軍人さんだったんだね。陸軍。この男の人はお父さんとちょっと仲違いをしてるみたいな感じなんだ。これ聞いていいか。アラスカ。
A lot of people have gotten confused why Joseph's father is called a
全然わからん。
and it's not stated outright at the beginning of the game, but
ここだけ
Joseph
字幕がないの
and his
謎。
dad, they grew up in Alaska, and I don't really have a
次ど
real
うしよう。
connection to Alaska except through
特
friends
に
who
行
live
き先
there,
が
and it was also
ある系
the
ではない。
place that me and my dad were going to
適当？
go right before he
もしかし
passed
て。
away. But I love the idea of Alaska being like this
登れない。
beautiful solitary place.
登れない。
But anyway, what that has to do with sourdough is it's an Alaskan slang term about like someone who lives in the backwoods, like a redneck
イ
in
ングリッ
Alaska.
シュで何一つわかりま
So
せ
I
ん。
thought that was just to put some
どなたか英語わかる方いらっしゃいませんか、
authenticity
この
into
中
the game.
に。
I added that word.
この中に英語がわかる方いらっしゃいませんか。何一つわからなかった。ちょっと額のなさ出ちゃったかな。どうしよう。あっちのさっきの正面のところにもう一回戻るか。なんかすごい いろいろ遠回りしてるな。でも風景すごい綺麗なんだよな。スクショタイム。マジチベットスナギツネなんだけど表情がない。これどうやって走るんだ。さっき走れてたんだけどな。走り方がよくわかんねえな。ああ、できた。なんだどのボタンだこれ。四角か、もしかして四角で走れんのか。徒歩は結構きつかったもんな。おお、これで早いぞ。今度あれなんだろう。あんまり動物いないな他に。これも掘ればいいか。
Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
Wasn't he like a
Hikori?
lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife
彫
was
刻
his
とは親父の絵
paintbrush.
描きの筆みたいな。
Even after working
週
50
50時間
hours,
働いた後、
even after his hands were more
手はささ
splinters
くれで
than
覆われ
skin,
てたって。
he would bring home the nicest
アラ
piece
スカ
of
産の
Alaskan
シダレ
woven
杉
cedar
を
and make me
材木
toys.
置き場から
That wooden
取
train
ってき
was the
て
first
おも
toy
ちゃ
I
を
could
作ってくれ
remember,
た。
and I
ああ、そういう
loved
こ
it.
となんだ。
I just knew from a young age I was going to be
あ
a
あ、
lumberjack, like my father.
あの手作りのおもちゃもその仕事の延長で作ったやつってことか。船のおもちゃ。へえ。この話してるやつら誰なんだ一体。レイチェルとか言ってたっけかな。なんか名前言ってた気がするなさっき。あれ、このキツネなんか子供探してるみたいな設定じゃなかったさっき。子供いるこれ。おー、びっくりした。あ、ウサギだ。待て。早いなあれ。早いな。これいけないか。キルできないか。できねえわ。これはおー、登れる。何これ。車？車だ。何の車これ。何用？でけえな。なんでこんなとこにこれあるんだろう。お、大丈夫か？大丈夫か？なんかよくわかんないな。お、すっごい大ジャンプなんだけど。よいしょ。取れた。これ集めるとなんかいいことあんのかな。あとどこだっけ。あそこ光ってる。あっちも光ってるじゃん。あっちも光ってる。ああ、ウサギ。ほら待て。うわくそ。お、なんかある。あれ何？
また覗きに来ますね。おすすめ3人。
白川さんありがとうございました。また来てくだ
I
さい。
feel like one of the main reasons people play small indie games is because they are so personal and intimate. So I tried to put myself into this game as much as possible. So almost all the vignettes or little stories you hear in this game, they come from my childhood, where I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Central Virginia in the United States. So yeah, that's probably why I love games like this so much, where you explore this open, wide environment and just find interesting things, because that's exactly what I did as a
授業
kid.
早いな。頑張ってください授業。居眠りしないように。あれなんか料理系だっけ？ 手切らないように気をつけてください。頑張ってね。来てくれてありがとう。あれどこでああっちだ。綺麗なこのステージマップ。
調理実習なんで2年で無理ですね。
さすがにできないか。
ありがとうございます。わら。
頑張ってね。私もそのうち買い物してこないと。夜飯のなんだあれ、なんかところどころなんか人間の文明みたいなやつがあるな。いかついなこれ。あー、滑り台、またここにも滑り台ある。あっちにはロケットの滑り台あったのに。こっちか、とりあえず。うわー、落ちる落ちる落ちる落ちる落ちる落ちる。あ、食べジャンプだジャンプ。二段ジャンプ、段ジャンプ、段ジャンプ。オッケーオッケーオッケー。いいぞー。まずビーコンじゃなくてこっちやってみるか。何が出てくる。僕はもっと孤立していった。自問自答したんだ。どうして他人と話さなきゃならないの。一人の方がずっと楽なのにって。絵を描くようになった。秘密基地を設計する想像をして遊んだ。青写真を描くっていう発想が今の。あれ、木こりになってないんだ。じゃあ何になったの。絵があるね。子供の絵だ。
It's as close as we can get for now.
夫婦この二人。これはクレヨン。クレヨン。
I thought it was important to say that yes, I actually did draw this with crayons. And it was just funny to me one day that I was like, I'm working on my game, and I pulled out my little 1-year-old's like crayon set to draw this item for this game. I just realized just now that I probably threw away the original. I probably should have kept it and given it away to somebody, but oh well.
今見える範囲だと全部いった感じするけど、マップとか見えないですかこれ。なんだこれ。おう USA。 何これ。勲章。パパの勲章的なあれですかこれ、もしかして。あと光ってるやつ。玉ひゅん。あっちの雪の山登ったところってなんかあんのかな。登れるかなこれ。このゲーム別に壁登りできねえもんな。いける。ギリいけなさそうだな。何？ローディング。 あ、次進めるんだ、これ一応。うわお。一気に変わったな。マジ雰囲気ゲーだ。あー、こっちの音楽の方が好きだな。ビーコンあんだ、まだ、そこに。よいしょー。よいしょー。はい、これはフォックスファーズ。
This is the level that I showed at PAX West, which was a crazy dream come true that this hobby project was
なんだこれ。
being shown next to all these amazing indie games.
花
So I
火。
decided to show this level because it's smaller, there's like some jumping puzzles, and I
花
thought
火
it
だな。
was a good entry into the game.
マイクラの花
But
火じ
the
ゃん。
one thing I can't seem to forget is right before we opened to the public, there was an indie dev superstar. Like, you've definitely heard of his games.
んあ、これか。
And I was
これ掘れ
like
ばいいの。
terrified. He wanted to try
い
it
いか
out.
な。
So I said, of course, like, please give me your feedback.
も
And he
う
was super
なんて喋っ
nice,
てるかわかんない。
super talented, of course. But this embarrassing bug happened, which I'd never seen before in my life, where when he dug the item up, he
Dug?
jumped right after, and it created the dust cloud to
かぶるかな。
permanently be
やるの。
on the rest of the level. It wouldn't turn off. So it looked like this fart
ポスター
cloud
出てきた。
following the fox as it just kept running with this beautiful music and serious voiceover.
あ
And it was
カセッ
just,
ト。
it was horrible. I think about that
何の
every
やつだろう、
time
これ。
I look at this level. But, you know, I was able to fix it, so I'm glad
この
someone
後
could at
喋っ
least
てくれる。
find that bug.
My teenage
Oh,
years
okay,
were
okay.
full of sketching,
10代の
angst,
頃の
and
僕はスケッ
trouble.
チと不安と
I wasn't
問題
popular
で
or
溢れていた
unpopular.
な。
Maybe just
影が
forgettable.
薄かった。
I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy
郵
things.
便箱に花火を入れた
Even though I
り、
mostly just watched
その
the
倉庫
chaos
に
and
瀕死した
We did it all.
動物の
Put
動物
fireworks
を
in
隠したり。
mailboxes, hide roadkill
超
in
悪ガキ
people's
じゃん。
garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
さっきの花火は
I think
それってこ
being
と
an
か。
adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions.
マ
He
マ
had
い
to
ない
make a
ん
living,
だ。
and he couldn't be
きっ
in
とこ
two
の感
places
じ。
at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
相当父親と仲が悪かったみたいだな。これはあっつジャンピンジャンピンジャンピンジャンピン
I
な。
always wanted this game to be very meditative and relaxing, but I know there's a balance between keeping the player's interest. So I added this butterfly jumping mechanic just to like spice things up. I used a plugin called Playmaker
なん
for
かちょ
Unity,
っと
which
色ちげえや
in
つ
a
あるな。
visual
これ
editor
なんだ。
lets you do interactive things, which is
蝶々。
perfect for me because I do come from a film and design background. But on the flip side, I really wish I was good at code because this jumping mechanic, the jumping mechanic in the whole game actually frustrated a lot of players. But hopefully I've been able to fine tune it, so it should feel a lot better now. I would just hate that this meditative game would get frustrating. So I've definitely I've lowered the gravity, I've made the jumps more consistent, so hopefully people can just focus on the world and the story.
パトカーだ。あっちもあるじゃん。これあれか。悪ガキパクられたやつみたいな。これは何ですか。
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they'd come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while.
ブルーグラスをスピーカーから大音量で流していたよ。
around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers.
トラック
I drove while my
ってさっ
friends
き
were
見
in
た
the
やつ
back
か
of
な。
that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer
黄色
bottles
と
and
紫
trash
色
at
のトラ
anything
ックの
remotely
後部
interesting.
後部席に座って
Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside at
警察
Eagle
が車
River
を止
pulled
めて
us
きた。
over
そ
after he
の
saw us
時
in a
に
bottle rocket into
落
someone's
胆し
yard.
尽くした大人たちとの
What
話し合い
followed
に
was a
これ以
long
上ない
night
羞恥
talking
心
to disappointed adults
羞
and
恥
feeling
心
smaller than ever.
羞恥心。この絵が見たいんですけど、上の画面がよ。誰だこれ、誰だこれ。お父さん、もしかしてこれが手前がタバコあるね。奥が僕、今話してる僕。俺が今言ってたパトカーか。狐は関係あんのかこれ、この話になあ。これはめっちゃ写真あるけど大丈夫これ。指名手配みたいな感じじゃないのこれ。大丈夫か。なんかめっちゃ書いてあるの。オッターレイク。ポリスステーション。今ここいるマップってことではないよな、きっと。あれは何なんだ一体。ちょっと分かんなかったな。登れ、いけ。よし。キラキラ発見。よいしょー。ここにもあります。です。こっちもある。めっちゃ情緒飛んでる。オッケー。広いね。お、大丈夫かこれ降りて。大丈夫かこれ、死なないか。いける。うわ、お、行くね行くね行くね行くね。すごいナイス。あっちあるな。ここ超綺麗じゃん。これいいな、すげえ綺麗。あそこにトラックあんな。あれのことか。雪山で見たやつじゃなくて、さっき話してたやつ。
After he drove me home from the
私が
police
警察署
station,
から
I
車で連れ
blew
帰
up
ってきて
at
くれた
him,
時、
saying how I
あと
never wanted
僕は
to
つ
be
いに
like
切れたん
him,
だ。
I was gonna be someone and leave that hick icebox for good. He just looked forward at the road with tired eyes. I took out that bluegrass tape from the cassette deck and chucked it out the window. In my sage teenage wisdom,
ハンドルを
I
握り
thought
な
I
がらゆっ
proved
くり
the
頭を
ultimate
下げる
point.
とやっと僕を見
But my
た。
dad had a different idea. He slammed the brakes, slowly bowed his head while gripping the steering wheel, and finally looked at me. All he said, like it was
謙
a
虚な要
polite
求を口にした。
request,
正しいことをしろと。
make this right. I sat there in silence, fuming, but I eventually got out and combed every square
30
inch
分
of
後
the
にカセ
woods,
ットは
muttering
道外れの
profanity
小さな
after
滝付近で見
profanity.
つかった。
I found it 30 minutes later near a small waterfall off the road. I went back to the
投
truck,
げ捨てたのにもう一回取り戻しに行ったんかいこいつ。
and sure enough, it worked. We didn't speak another word to each other the rest
どん
of
だ
the
けお気
night.
に入りなんだよ。
Wow, I knew you were a crazy teenager, but
It's hard to believe, isn't it? Surprises me too. It's like I didn't really know who that kid was back then. I bet my dad thought the
相
same
当な
thing
やん
over
ちゃ
and
坊主だ
over.
ったんだな。
It's almost like he was saying, make this right to himself, more than to me.
この上登りたい。いけるかな。こっからはいけないか。いけないっぽいな。お、すげえ滝だ。いけない。 なんか登れるとこある？ここギリ。おいしょ、来たー。ギリいけた。シャンシャン。これはパラレルズ。
My biggest hope for the players that are playing is that they realize how similar these two parallel stories are, of this fox looking for her missing cubs and also of this son reconnecting with his father.
この英語で喋ってるやつは一体どういうストーリーの話をしてるんだか。
to help draw those parallels, even if they seem totally dissimilar. A big example is the truck, for instance, that Joseph grew up with. It's purple and yellow like the butterflies for this fox. So I tried to add as many touches like that throughout the story as possible.
おお、すげえ。何も見えない。おお、なんだ。これって一体なんだ。蝶々の意味がよくわかんないな。何なんだろう。無視してもいいのかな。またあるな。バーバーショップ。バーバーショップ、どういう意味？なんか髪切るところみたいな感じのニュアンスで合ってるか。はい。蝶々 3×2 段ジャンプ。はい。何それ。そういうゲームなのこれ。めっちゃ雰囲気いいぞ。この影の感じがいい。光か。光の感じがいいよね。これ大ジャンプできるってことだな。蝶々集めると。めっちゃ集まってきた。あ、下にあるじゃん。いいぞ。41。とあともう一個、ここね。 OK。 これで大ジャンプができるってことですか？
My friends would laugh about that
急にびっくりした。
talk about how crazy it was, and I laughed along, pretending it didn't bother me.
実はすごく気に
But
して
it
た。
did. I imagined my friends growing old in the
氷の
bush
地で
and able to find that thrill in those godforsaken ice fields. It's like those mountains were a literal wall, keeping me from
まるであ
leaving.
の山々が文字通り壁のように僕を閉じ込め、この先木材置き場と夜のビールを楽しみにするだけの人生を歩むことになってしまうと思ったんだ。
That was my only goal for a long time.
僕はあの壁を越えなきゃならなかった。まあでもわかるよ、そういう気持ち。これいける？おお、すっげえ飛ぶな。あ、いやマジやべね。うっ、危ねえ。 次どここれ。なんもないけど。どこここ。なんやこれ。
もし
絵描きの情熱を少しでも脱出の方法へと変えられるなら、これ以上の幸せはないと思った。何かを作り出しろ。僕は他の人が自分に求めもしなかったことをしようと努力しすぎてたんだ。なぜあんなことをしたんだろう。あなたにその情熱がなければ私たちはきっと出会ってなかったと思わな。どや。なぜこの狐な旅情を見ているのかな。なぜ僕は親父のことを考え続けているんだろう。ちょっとわかんないです、それは。夢これ何。広すぎるな。すっげえ綺麗なこの子。なんか吹き出てるよ。大丈夫あれ。あっちも吹き出てるよ。見てみるか。よいしょー。綺麗、色味が。なんかあるか。お、何。ローディング。死んだかと思った今。次来たな。ちょっと喉が。お水を飲みます。なんか全然違うとこ来たね。森じゃん。お、あるじゃん。なんかなんかいろんなとこ行けるな。これはオープンワールド。
I did want to do something a little different with this level. I wanted it to be more open world feel, and that there was something blocking your progress. So it did encourage people to look closely and see how to unlock this blocked way.
この辺の説明ってこと？
And I do
これ
like just
もしかして
walking around
開
this
発者の
level and listening to the beautiful music by Josh Kramer. His work really sets the mood for the whole
今んと
game.
こ他の狐一切見ないっすけど、なんか森の妖精みたいなの出てこない？これ出てきそうな雰囲気じゃない？あれ？あった。何が出るかな？親父は空いた時間にたくさんのものを作ってくれて、言った。
He made tons of birdhouses. Not that he was into bird watching, but I think he really missed working and adding on to the home. If he couldn't afford the time to build onto our own house, he would have to settle with watching birds move into their little homes. We kept an old mattress in the bed of that ugly yellow truck. So we would drive it deep into the woods and then watch the birds fly into their houses while the sun set. Usually it was accompanied by venison jerky or a cold Coke, but not a lot of talking, which is how we both liked it.
まあ父親と息子だけ二人っきりの生活はちょっと難しいよな、きっと。
Earlier I said I just love
Making
going
a
through
model.
video games and exploring, like looking at every nook and cranny and just trying to find
ガ
little
チ
details.
ないよあれ。
And I think that started because in middle school and high school, I would make mods for my favorite games, namely
同性
Jedi
の親
Knight, Jedi
ほど
Outcast,
ちょっ
and
と
Far Cry. And I loved like this huge world of
分か
mod
り合えないものっ
makers
て
who
な
would
いよ
make
ね。
these levels, and it'd be like the most random creative things, and I would just love
何の
exploring,
ボートだこれ。
usually multiplayer levels by myself. So even though I went to college for film, before that, like
こ
before
っ
high
ち
school,
も
I
広い
was
な
making video
ち
games
ょっと
and
見
mods.
きれない
It was my
ね。
favorite thing in the world. I made a ton of different levels. I made an abandoned space hotel with a dance floor and cafeteria.
上もなん
I
かある
made
し
a
な。
haunted campground with cabins and tents. I made this whole city with like the first ever day-night cycle with running showers and stuff in the hotel and the apartment buildings. And I just loved making those mods. And I think that carries over to my game, the first tree, and also
あっ
the
ちも
one
戻り
before
たい
that,
ん
home
で
is
すけ
where
ど、
one starts, which is very, it's
こっち
exploration,
もま
just
だある
looking
ね。
around and appreciating the details.
広いな。目にいい色だな、この辺マジで。登れるか、いけるか。これさすがに無理。こっちからいける？おう、いける。よし。しゃ50スターズトロフィーゲッツ。あれ？ああ、これか。
We were happiest underneath the
エバーグリ
evergreens.
ーンの下で僕らは最も
We
幸せな
decided it was time to
時を過
finally
ごしたん
map
だ。
out the hundreds of acres we lived on, just to pass the time during the
何
summer.
百エーカーもある
He
敷
was only free in
地
the evenings, so I would
敷
spend the
地
day
を
wasting time
地
on
図に
dial-up
起こす
internet
こと
and
にした。
sketching. And then we would rush into the woods, pen and map in hand, before evening fell.
インターネットとスケッチを
Sometimes
し
the
て時間
aurora
を潰
borealis
し、
would cast a
ペン
cold
と地
green
図を
glow
持
on
っ
the
て
mountain
夜が
sky,
深まる前に
and we would
林へと
finish
急
our
いだ。
route underneath a twilight sky. Sometimes I was lonely during those summer days,
僕たちは黄昏
but there
の
was
空の
comfort
下
in the
で
routine.
経路を済
A
ませる
lot
こと
of
もあった。
teenagers aren't looking for the daily grind, though. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get out, to leave your childhood home. You wanted to progress, to make something of yourself.
Yeah, you're right. That house. I'm sure it's the same as how I left it.
これなん
Then
だ？
why does it feel so different?
No!
I doubt you're the only adult to have looked back and asked that question. 読めねえ。L? あ、いいぞ。なんだ？スパイセス。スパイセス。ちょっとわかんなかった。あっち戻るか。遠いぞー。あっちなんか隙間みたいなのあるね。わあ、これ絶対次のマップ行っちゃうよな。あー、なんかある。しゃしゃしゃ。反対側も探索したいんですけど、これ出られないですかね、もしかして。ちょっとわかんないとこ来ちゃったな。一回戻るか。遠いなぁ。
ゼルダみたいだな。結構戻ってきたぞ。なんかある？あ、違う。なんかあるわけじゃないのか。日の光？これ。謎にここだけ、すごい、日の光が。光ってんな、あっち。一回道を戻る。ここ来たとこだね。
I did want to do something
もう
a
一回
little
これ
different
聞けん
with
の？
this level.
いい
I
ってそん
wanted
な。
it to be more open world feel
大丈夫だっ
and
て。
that there was something blocking your progress. So it did encourage people to look closely and see how to unlock this blocked way.
ぶつかん
And
な
I
きゃ
do
よかっ
like just walking around this level and listening to the beautiful music by Josh Kramer. His work really sets the mood for the whole game.
た。マットレスか。超汚いマットレスだった。あっちにまたあるな。なんてやつだこれ。ストーリーテリング。
Almost all
101?
stories follow the same kind of structure. And it starts with an inciting event,
Why?
and there's rising action,
Why?
and then there's a climax, and then there's falling action. And it's actually really difficult to make an interesting story where you only hear these two people talking, and it's spoken through a dream that's already happened. And the most of the action is about this animal that isn't directly related to this couple at all. So I don't know what I was thinking, but my hope was that it would create some interesting things and connections that I didn't see before. And that was kind of the whole exercise of making the first tree.
こっちなんかあるか。一個あった。あ？なんか出たり入ったりしてる。え？なにこれ？ What？ なんかスキルもらえるんですかこれ。もしかして攻撃スキルとかもらえますか？これ下なんかあるか。特になさそう。はい。3分の1だからあと2個あるの？どこかに。これ探さないと次進めない系、もしかして。おい、どこ見てんだ。降ります。敷地内にもう長いこと使われていない捨てられた古い小屋や車の一部が転がっているところがあった。
And I'm sure he got so tired of hearing it that he made up some elaborate stories how a brown bear ate them and haunted the woods afterwards.
ずっとあの人たちがずっとあの場所から離れられずにお別れが言えないでいる気がしたんだ。水際で幽霊を見たって何度も断言したんだが、その度にみんな怖がってた。
They were normal people with old cars and sheds, just trying to figure out how to survive and be happy.
僕はとにかく変な子供だったんだよ。
It was a cool thought that they didn't want to leave, but you know, I was a weird kid.
Well, you had good company since those ghosts like living in a place where they were brutally
あなたの
devoured.
周りが居心地よかったんじゃないかしら。何笑ってんねん。別に行けるとこねえよ、そっちは。こっち光ってます。うわ、外した。おお、すごい。謎の重力。取れない。うわ、最悪だ。むずいな、ジャンプ調節が。あと1個。オッケー。あそこ光ってるやつあんの。わー、戻ってきた。戻ってきたか。おお。あとは戻って正面の道を行けばいいか。あ、これが戻ってきたか。そしたらこっちか。こっちだね。なんかありますか？しょい。Music.
I don't think the first tree could work at all without the music by Josh Kramer. And his music, it's actually publicly available to license, and so it was affordable for me since this was a hobby project. And it's something I like to tell new indie developers all the time, like, you can't afford that composer, you can't afford a full-time programmer. You need to cut corners and finish your game, and the way to do that is to use these amazing publicly available assets that anyone can purchase and license. And so his music is incredible, and I actually haven't talked to him that much, I've just emailed him. But his music was nominated for Most Emotional Music at the Emotional Game Awards in France, and he's just a really nice guy. And I think there's so much amazing content out there that if you're thinking of making a game, like, look around and see what you can make work on a tight budget, because it worked really well for the first tree.
Even at my most distant, at the times when I detested him,
僕が最も距離を置いていた
kept reaching
時に
out.
親父を最も嫌っていたあの時期でも親父はずっと手を伸ばし続けてくれたんだ。釣り竿やん。
Eventually, to shut him up, I agreed. We carried out the worn lawn chairs from the garage and set up a cinder block campfire at the site we'd always used behind the house. We walked down the mountain path, talking in the warm
家の裏にあ
sunshine we
る
only got a
野営
couple
地を
months
使
of
っ
the
て
year.
シンダーブロ
Those
ックの
three
キャンプファイヤ
obsidian
ーを設
rocks
置した。
shimmered alongside the
参道を
shore,
降りながら
almost
年
like
に数ヶ
sparklers
月し
pressed
か来
against
ない
the dark
暖かい
window.
日差しの中で僕は
I'll
親
never
父と
forget that
あ
wet stone on my feet, or how those massive mountains looked even bigger in the lake's reflection. I felt small, but grateful. As the sun set, my dad found something I hadn't seen for a long time. The tree where I'd made my first
あ
carving
僕が
when I
6
was
歳の時に
6.
初めて文字を彫った
I
木だ。
hadn't even carved it.
親父
My
に手
dad
伝っ
had
てもらっ
helped
てや
me,
ったものだ
but
が
I still called it
それで
my
も僕の
tree.
木だと呼んでいた。
Something about seeing my name there made me open
その
up.
夜は古びた迷
And we
彩
talked
柄の
about
テントでい
everything
ろんな
that
ことを
night in
話し
an
込んだ。
old camouflage tent.
ああ、いいじゃない。
I told him how much I love sketching and design, and how it would be a dream to study architecture in
近くと
Seattle.
思うことが夢
I told him how I didn't get along with my friends much anymore, but that I didn't mind being alone. He told me he was there for me. And he
親父はい
joked
つで
that
も
if
僕の
all
味
he
方
had
だ
to
と言
do
い、
was
木に
write
名前
my
を
name
刻む
on
だ
a
け
tree
で
to finally
僕と
get
こうして
me
話
to
せるようになるのなら、
He would've left me
毎朝僕の部屋の前に
carved
小説を彫り綴った
logs with
丸太を置いてやっ
novels
たのにと笑った。
I don't know why it took me that long to realize it.
その時、初めて親父がどれだけ自分を犠牲にしてきたかを理解した。すごいいい話しすぎてちょっと泣きそうなんですけど。ちょっとここで和解したんだね。木こりやってるって言ったもんな、パパが。やっぱこういうなんて言うんだろう、職人、あっちにあるな、職人気質なんて言えばいいんだ。職人系の仕事ってね、やっぱりどうしてもそういう感情を表に出さないというか、なんだ、人と関わるのがあまり得意な人が多いイメージではないから、そんな感じなんかな、この木こりのパパも。これは見たやつか。こっから入ればいいのか。あれどこだ、入れたとこ。この辺じゃなかったっけかな。違う。こっちか。なんかありますか。あっちあるね。か。70。結構集まったな。なんかこっち通れる。あ、さっきのとこか。あー、またなんか紫の蝶々の塊あるな。これどうやってあっち行くんですかね。あ、こっち行く。取れない。よいしょ。よし。あった、あれ。謎の光ってるやつ。できた。トロフィー。The way forward。ほんで、次はどこ行けばいいんだい。なんか傷ついてる。わかんねえな。 戻れる？戻る？一回。この後行くとこがわかんないな。3つ集まっ、なんか謎の光3つ集まったから、正面行けるようになったかな、戻って。めっちゃ行ったり来たりしてるわ。鳥いた？あっち。すごいジャングルの鳥みたいな音したな。いけますかこれ。前に進めますか？あ？道合ってるこれ。光ってるやつあるね。どこで光ってんのそれ。あ、なくなってるじゃん。どうやってなくなったんですかこれ。よいしょ。むずいとこれ。よし。よし。オッケー。
The perpetrator stood nearby, unfazed, like nothing was wrong.
死んだ親父はもう戻ってくることはないん
My
で
dad is dead,
レイチェル。
and he's never coming back, Rachel. I can tell you these stories, but I can never reminisce with him
この
again.
先多分
He
授
can
かる
never
ことも
hold
で
a
きない孫をその
grandchild that we'll probably never be able
手に
to
抱くことも
have.
で
I
き
can
やしない。
never
もう会う
talk
こ
to
と
him
も謝
again,
ること
and
も
I'll
で
never
き
be
ないん
able
だ。
to
今
say
ま
I'm
で謝らなかっ
sorry
たって。
for everything.
パパ死んじゃったんだ。さあ
It was really important to me that the wolf in this story that takes the fox's
ウル
cubs,
フいるじゃん。
that it wasn't explained at all.
大丈夫か
It's
これ。
just this entity that's in the background. And of course, it's supposed to
めっちゃ怖いん
represent
ですけど。
something bigger than a wolf or even the fox. It's supposed to represent like the
Wolf.
specter of death. And
逃げた。
it doesn't, it comes when you least expect
なんだあい
it.
つ。
There's no justification.
うわ
He's
あ
just there,
大丈夫これ。
always watching.
うっつ。あの見た目でこのステージだともののけ姫を思い出すな。よいしょ。すごい急斜面。大丈夫これ。すごいんですけど。このまままっすぐ行って大丈夫？ローディングしない感じ？ 狼どこ行ったん結局。これ一瞬でいなくなったけど。なんか光ってるなあれね。結構走ったな。もう見えないよ。遠いなあ。こっちに何があるんだ。まだ結構走るっぽいなこれ。夜になっちゃう。あったね。降ります。もう寝なきゃ。このことを話すはもう辛いんだ。おやすみ。ん？手紙。なんで話したんだよ。これはまっすぐ行って大丈夫か？でもあの斜面登れないよな。お、ロード入りまーす。わお、なにこれ。超幻想的なんですけど。すげえ。上に海岸じゃん。
Joseph,
わお。
you can't go to sleep
Joseph who?
feeling like this. I'm sorry for everything, and I know you need space, but
でも私はあなたの支えになりたいの。もう途
you
方に
don't
暮
need
れ
to
る
feel so lost.
必要はないのよ。綺麗。
Joseph, have I ever told you what
私
my
の
mother
母が
was
どんな
like?
人か話したことあったかしら。レイチェル。
Hello, my name is Elise Whaley, and I was
My
the voice
name
actress
is
for Rachel,
Rachel.
and also David's wife. So that was convenient for working together. I was actually the voice actress for his first game, Home is Where One Starts, and I guess that I did a good enough job that David wanted me back, so I did the voice acting for this one as well. David definitely coached me through it because I'm pretty inexperienced when it comes to that. Home is Where One Starts was my first time ever doing voice acting of any kind. And we watched a lot of trailers of movies we liked to get the voice right of female leads who were talking in the trailer and try to mimic that and bring that into the game. So that had the right kind of feel and the right kind of atmosphere for the voice. My character actually is the same character from Home is Where One Starts. If you've played that game, you probably connected that together.
And this
is her probably about 15 years later, maybe 20 years later, in this game. I was happy to revisit the character of Rachel. We kind of leave her in an ambiguous spot in Home is Where One Starts. It definitely ends on a hopeful note, but there's not a lot of details. And in this game, you see that she's able to move on through a lot of her issues that she had from her abusive home and be able to start her own family and start a new cycle without that abuse, which I think is really inspiring.
サッカー。
You know what it's like not to have a mom at home.
母が家にいないこと、そして子供の頃がどんなに辛かったかはあなたもわかるやつ。唯一救いだったのは朝学校の送迎バスが来る前に鳥たちを眺めること。母が病院にいる時に折り鶴の折り方を教えてくれたから、私が自分が飛べるまで毎日1羽ずつ折った。ああ、レイチェルの鶴ってことだったのか、さっきの。
I think we both have always loved animals, and for me that love started with
動物好きは犬から始まった。
Sometimes this Rottweiler would come up to our property line and wait at the fence for me, but only once in a while. I was
私
sure
は
to
父
check
が寝
every
ている
day
間に
immediately
お
after
金
school,
をくすね
and it
てノ
usually
ー
ended
ブ
in
ラン
disappointment.
ドの犬用ビスケ
I
ット
would
を買っ
even
たこと
steal
もあった。
money from my
今
passed
も
out
父に会いに
dad
来た。
just so I
決して
could buy
柵を
these
越えようとはしな
off-brand
かった
dog biscuits.
どうしてあんなに怖がっていたのかしら。
Even when she did stop by, she never went beyond the fence. Why was she so scared?
はあ、今度はレイチェルの話をやるんですかね、きっと。Working together.
So it's always interesting working with your spouse because, especially on a creative project, because they want your feedback, but it's something that's also dear to their heart, and they're dear to your heart, and you definitely don't want to hurt their feelings. So I was a little nervous when David asked me. He had finally finished writing the script, and he asked me to go over it and see what I thought. And I had minored in English. I majored in art, but I minored in English, so I felt like I had a little bit of experience. But I was definitely like a little scared because you don't want to be too harsh, but you also want to be honest. And it was the biggest relief when I read the script, and I was like, oh, good. My husband's a good writer. I don't have to change that much about this, just a few like grammatical things. And that was just like the biggest relief for me because it can be a tricky balance working with your spouse and making sure that honesty is there, but also that love and the support is there as well.
I think my dad was the opposite of your dad in
私の父は軍にいたことは除いてあなたのお父さんとは全くの正反対だった。
He coped with alcohol of
ト
every
レーラーが
kind.
壊れ始めると父は怒りをなり、私は身を引いた。
He got angry and I withdrew. More and more I became the weird
変わっているという点では私たちはよく似ていると思う。
birds and carried dog biscuits around. I think we were pretty similar when it came to being the weird kids. And that same sincerity in college was one of the reasons I was so drawn to you. Life got worse and worse.
私の生活はどんどん悪化していって、ある日本当に明日まで無事に生き延びられるかもわからないことだった。
I had no real friends, let alone neighbors, since we lived in the middle of nowhere. I should have talked to my teacher, but
朝送迎バスを待っている間、歩き回っていたら放置された小屋の中でうまく言葉に表せないようなものを見つけた。
I walked around
何ですか
until
それ。
I found something in an abandoned shed.
これ何？
Something I can't put into words.
よくわかんない。アート。
So we're talking about homes where one starts a lot. So if you haven't played that game, maybe this doesn't make as much sense, or maybe this is a little plug that you should go play it. But in that game, it actually features one of my artworks. I work as an artist, and paper cutting actually. David used one of my artworks as a graffitied stencil in homes where one starts. That's against the wall of this shack. And it actually shows up again in the first tree, just a fragment of it. The first tree, the title actually comes from one of my artworks that I made back in 2015, I want to say. And I made this artwork while I was pregnant with our first child. And it had a lot of meaning for me, and David actually helped me come up with the title. And he asked, because I was really struggling, I was like, I have no idea what to call this, and I always go to David for title ideas and to bounce ideas off of him, and that's like the only way I can ever come up with a title is by talking with him. So we were talking back and forth and looking at this artwork, and he said, well, what kind of like movies or shows were you watching while you were making the artwork? Because my work's pretty tedious, so sometimes I'll watch a show or do some Netflix binging while I'm creating it. And I was like, oh, I actually watched Tree of Life a ton. And then we're like, tree of life. And we started thinking more about that and then arrived at the first tree. So it started off as one of my artworks and then became a part of David's art, which I think is really cool that we were able to share that title.
I summoned courage I didn't know I had, and I broke into my dad's room and found the key to the shed where he had locked my bike. I'll never forget that feeling of the wind rushing by my ears as the sun rose over fields of wheat. I was flying for the first time. I biked as far as my legs could take me until I found a house that felt friendly, and that felt like home. Those strangers helped me in so many ways. And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have found my foster family. And if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't have met you.
スクショした。とりあえず。今度これは？何これ？なんもねえじゃん。おー、明るくなってきた。すげえ。すげえ。
You have strength, Joseph.
または強いわ、ジョセフ。
It's all just so pointless. Just waiting for life to happen. It's like having the home
いい子にすらならなかった自分が親になんてなれるわけがないだろう。すまない、君の言っていることはわかるんだ。この静かな時間がやがて数年に変わり、どんな道が過ぎ去っていったのかと疑問に思うんだろうな。
These quiet hours will turn into years. We'll wonder which roads passed us by.
Then we'll forge a new road together. Besides, I discovered for myself that one fateful morning there may be thorns and mist, but it always leads to the same thing.
And what's that?
Family.
I'm so glad that you're part of my family, Rachel.
君は僕の家族になってくれたかった。
A question I get a lot is why a fox? And it ties into just how important family is for me. And Fox is actually a family name from my wife's side, from Elise. And she always heard about the legacy of the Fox family. And because of that, growing up, it was her favorite animal. She even made these 2 wooden foxes for our wedding cake toppers. So I thought it would be cool to have that animal in the game while these 2 people are having this conversation in the middle of the night.
文章。何あの絵。船だな。レイチェルのお父さんのやつってことなのかな、今の。海軍にいたってことですか、もしかして。ちょっとあんまり勲章の意味とかは分かんないんだけど。もうなんもないか。なんか落ちてる。これは電子レンジと洗濯機。なぜそこにそんなものが。いや、圧倒的にジョセフよりレイチェルの方が不幸だろ。よくレイチェルの前でお前そんな話できたな、父親との仲違いの話。それよりレイチェルの方がもっと壮絶っぽいけど。お、ピカーあるやん、ピカー。シャン。そろそろ終わりそうだな。 反対側はなんかあるかい？走っていくのめんどくさいけど気になっちゃうよね。なんか落ちてる。なんだろう。地図とまた勲章。何のやつだろう。光ってます。シャン。光りすぎてちょっとよくわからなかったぞ。詰まってる詰まってる詰まってる。こっちはソファー、テレビ壊れてる。なんかちらっと見えるな。この置かれてるものは一体どういう意味なんですかね。キランもあるやん。そうだな。こっちはなんだそれ。ああ、焚き火の跡みたいな。え、これはちょっと見慣れなさすぎてわかんないな。シャベルみたいなやつかわかんないけど。ちげえな。違う？わかんねえな。薪を重ねとくやつみたいな的な。そろそろ終わりに近づいてるな。おお、びっくりした。なんだこれ。矢印。ビアーレプラス合ってる？矢印。あっち行けって書いてあったけど。よくわかんなかった。戻るか。こっちか？こっちだな。登れるか？ゴーゴーゴーゴーゴーゴー。シャンシャン。うわー、玉ひゅん絶対死ぬって今の超びっくりしたんですけど。お、鹿だ。鹿がいる。こんにちは。乗れる？乗らない。鹿シミュレーターのやつじゃん。おお、びっくりした。動いてる。マジかよ。めっちゃいるじゃん、鹿。 泣いてない？めっちゃ子供だ。でかっ。子供でもでけえな。なんか喋ってるよ。詰まってる。こっち行って上見てみよう。あっち行けるな。こっちはなんかあっちも行けそうだよね。最初に来るとこ間違えた？もしかして。音がすげえかわいい。めっちゃ走るな。登る。おお、結構登れる。無理かも。ああ、さすがに無理か。こっちなんかある？あれ？戻ってきちゃった？もしかして。これ戻ってきたな。どっから来たんだ私。あれ。別なルートから来ちゃったってこと？だーっと越えられません。なんで急に鹿なんだろう、ここで。進むか、とりあえず。このまま行けばいいか？これは一体どこに向かったんだろう。おお、ちょっとアクション要素が。よいしょ。届かない。ギリ。よいしょ。よいしょ。100スターズトロフィーゲットした。お、ロード入ります。 そろそろ終わるかな。お、雨。我が子が始まりの木の下で待っていることを知っていた。目的地まであと少しだ。黄色の矢野原に降り注いでいる。生が始まるこの場所では全ての命が守られている。母と娘だけだった。彼女が目的地、そして彼女の運命に近づくにつれ、僕の人生の産物が地面に散らばっているのが見えた。はい。なんかめっちゃあるなぁ。いけ。あっぶな。急に狐の話に戻るんだな。ここ下降りていい系で。玉ひゅん。よいしょ。続くね、結構。ほら、なんだこれ。うわ、届かねえ。よし。ザ・ビジュアル。
Usually what catches people's attention of the first tree is the visuals, of course. And I was inspired by a lot of people making these levels. The second level is inspired by just these beautiful autumn photos of a real forest. And this level, the Jade Valley, is inspired by the artwork of Heather Penn, who did the Overland games. I just love those greens with a lot of gray in it. I love the strong vignettes in the corners of the frame. And of course, this environment pack was made by the very talented Swedish designer Mikael Gustafsson. And of course, his initial designs inspired me, and I was able to build off of that. And I'm really grateful that he allowed his environment pack to be made publicly available.
At the end of high school, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Drive. I looked into the best architecture schools on the West Coast, then got a dose of reality when looking at other students' portfolios and the high cost of tuition.
他の生徒のポートフォリオと高額な学費で現実に引き戻された。それでも何かにはしたいと思った。生涯書き留めた何千ものスケッチに興味を持たなかったのに、インターンシップでさえも。
Caesar helped me understand how essential emotion is in architecture. And he also said light is the real composer of space. I like to think these glints of light, like not finding a job, or even a strange dream about a fox, even if the illuminated space is something I'm less than comfortable with.
はあ。最終的にはこれどこに向かえばいいんだ？これはなんもないか。草方だ。あるね。なんか光ってるのが。ビーコンあるね。うわ。すげえここ。 構移動してるよこれ。よいしょ。あれ取れなかった。しゃしゃ。しょ。これはザ・ファーストツリータイトル回収です。
By now you've probably caught on to some of the themes I love to explore in these stories. And the big one is of this tree, the first tree on Earth. And a lot of people have asked me, what does that mean? Why a tree? And basically it boils down to this delicate balance between nature and its relationship with life and death. And I love these stories where they put like these microscopic relationships, like something of like a father and a son, and juxtapose it next to this epic story of like the creation of the universe and the first tree on Earth, and how they can be equally as important, because in my mind, like, my family is as important as like the creation of the Earth. And it reminds me of like some of the stories I love, like The Road by Cormac McCarthy, or The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick. Basically, I wanted to make sure the player felt that there was a higher power than themselves, and that there was something watching over them as they went through this story.
いや、謎の見えない壁が。くそ、謎の見えない壁にこれ以上いけない。家だな。こんなところに家どうやって建てたの？すごくない？すごくない？逆にこここんな崖の上みたいな。あそこにも家あるじゃん。なんだろう。こっちは何？めっちゃ埋まってる。見えないです。入り込めない？これ入り込めないな。見えないようになってるね。音楽なくなったなっていうか、急に。ずっと雨降ってる。ん？なんだこれ。病院のベッドだな、これ。これどこ行けばいいんだ？こっちで合ってる？登れる？登れそうだな。おー、結構、いや、 謎の重力でまた行けない。あっち光ってんな。あっち行くか。すごいとこ走るなこいつ。大丈夫か。全然違うルートから私来てるっぽいなこれ。うわ、あっちにもなんか光ってんな。行くの遠いな。しょうがない、行くか。落ちたー。あれ登れるかな。あれ光ってるのあったよね今。気のせい、もしかして。あったあったあった。これは何ですか。
My dad was super supportive with my college plans. To a point. Things were okay until this terrible accident happened.
この悲惨な事故が起こるまで
flipped over
物
due
事は
to a
順調だ
bad
った。
axle, and it crushed one of the workers there. My dad didn't eat for days, even though he wasn't directly involved. It devastated him. Not only did it hurt the business, but it just freaked him out. He would talk in his sleep, muttering things about firing people and
事
saying
故があっ
sorry.
たの。
One fateful day he
ある運
approached
命の
me.
日、親父は僕の方へやってきて、僕の大学探しがうまくいってないなら大人への第一歩として家業を継がないかと言ってきた。
He said one day he was going to die, and that all of his work, sacrifice, and even that man's life would be wasted in vain.
それが無駄になっ
I
て
just
しまうと言ったん
lost
だ。
it. Teenage me just exploded at the thought. I screwed up. I said things I shouldn't have. He was having a crisis.
あの時言っちゃいけない
I
こと
pretty
言って
much
しまった。
spit in his face.
フォークリフトの下敷きになったってやばいね。なんかトランクあるな。522？ 522って何？アンバランス。バランス。522ってあっちだとなんだ？救急車ってことでいいのかな？なんか救急隊レスキュー隊みたいな感じで合ってる？あるやん。あった、フォークリフト。あれだろう。ああ、これだな。多分これだよね、フォークリフトって。そんなにでかくはないけど、あれに荷物乗った状態でひっくり返ったらやばいっしょ。 これ取りたい。取れるか。よし、ナイス。よし、いいぞ。降ります。
Was that the last time you talked to
そ
him?
れがお父さんとの最後のやりとりだ
I
ったの。
called on holidays, and he would call on my birthday,
私も誕生日に電話してきた。お互い何もなかったように振る舞ったんだ。
which was stupid.
馬鹿げてたと思うよ。僕は親父の材木置き場について聞きたくなかったし、向こうも僕の仕事探しについて聞きたくなかったんだろうな。あれ以来会いに帰ることもなかった。僕は正直親父はもっと長生きすると思ってた。なるほどね。最後の謝らずに行っちまったみたいなことはそういう話だったんですね。お？何？またいるんですけど。
In the distance, the first tree illuminated the wasteland. She couldn't go home anymore. She did the only thing she was capable of. Moving forward. My dad died alone in the middle of the wilderness. I should have been talking
急
to
に
him
今こ
more.
こでキツネ
I should have done a lot of things
キツネ
differently.
のストーリー出てきた。ちょっと待って。死んどるやんけ。
If the
マ
first
ジか
tree
よ。
on Earth brought life with it, if it taught the birds to sing and fly and showed saplings how to grow,
狼殺されたってことこれもしかして。
What could it do for
うお
us?
ー、怖っ。最初に見つけた一匹も死んでたよね。マジ？進むけど、あれ死んでる本当に。娘って言ってたよね。娘。ラストステップ。
Obviously, this is a really emotional part,
Maji.
but I'm going to talk through it anyway.
青狼にやられたん
A
か
lot
な。
of people correctly identify that Journey was like a huge inspiration for the first tree. And this part, it is like a callback to that part where you're climbing up the mountain with your friend you don't know, and it just gets snowier and snowier, and you just keep going, and then eventually you collapse. And that part, that made a huge impact on me. And I don't even own a PlayStation 3 or 4. I rented a PlayStation from like a rent-a-center right after completing Home is Where One Starts, just because I'd heard so much about it. And everyone was right, it was a very impactful game, and it definitely inspired the first tree.
There was a letter I received yesterday from a name I didn't recognize, with a quote I can't
死は
stop
生
thinking
の反
about.
対ではなくその一部である。
Death is not the opposite of life, but a part of it. More and more, I'm realizing one important truth. Each of us have our own journey to the
僕
first
たちは
tree.
それぞれ始まりの木へ
But
の
sometimes
道をた
I'm
どっ
not
ている
sure
んだ。
I'm ready to take that first
で
step.
もその時々、
you
そ
already
の最
have
初の
my
うちを
love.
きっともできるわよ、ジョセフ。いやー、ちょっとショックだったね、今。なんか話してたと思うんだけど、小狐がもう死んじゃってたことにショックを受けても何一つ内容入ってこなかった。まあ、つまりこれが始まりの木ってことでいいですか？これどうすればいいんですか？来たけど。止まった。うわ、 え？最初の木は目を覚まし、子供たちに最後にもう一度だけ伝えたいメッセージがあるかを狐に優しく尋ねる。え？何？え、怖い。最初の木は目を覚まし、子供たちに最後にもう一度だけ伝えたいメッセージがあるかを狐に優しく尋ねる。彼女はこう答える。え？子供に亡くなったってことで、亡くなった子供にってことだよね。ああ、海外的にはファック。違う、ファック、違う。消えたことについてのファックね。愛してるよ。あ、また消えた。もう逆なんだよね。愛してるよ。続ける。キラーンってやつは文字数ってことだったんだ、最後の。私どっか行っちゃったんですよ。私の旅路はあれで終わりなのかもしれないけど、どうだろうな。結局はただの夢。明日からの逃避に過ぎないのだから。ただの夢がそんな重要な気持ちや思い出を呼び起こしたりするから、もしかしたら夢なのかもしれないけど、贈り物だったのかも。そうかもしれないな。明日は飛行機に乗って地球上で最も行きたくない場所へ飛ばなきゃならない。会いに行きたい人ももういなくなってしまった。最後にお別れを言う前に会って一緒に過ごせるわ。最後にエマーゾンからの名言を透明な手紙にしたためてあなたへ送ってあげる。世界の秘密とは全てのものは死ぬのではなく、視野から一時的に退き、また後ほど戻ってくるということだ。さあもう寝ましょう。明日はとても大事な日。でも私がずっとそばで支えていくから。
But I'll be there with you every step of the way.
Thank you.
ありがとう。聞いてくれてありがとう。おやすみレイチェル。
Good night, Rachel.
Good night, Joseph.
おやすみなさい、ジョセフ。この狐の物語は夢の話ってことだったん？結局。実際あったストーリーとかではなく、ジョセフが見てた夢の話。6ヶ月後。What? 狐じゃなくなったんですけど。誰やこいつ。なんか寝とるか。何あれ。何すんのこれ。怖い。ホラー。ホラーによくあるやつ。自分自身が映らない。これどうすんの？こっち？こっちだな。おお。What the?
You're probably thinking, what is going on? And that was definitely my intention for this epilogue part of the first tree. This is my favorite part. This is the part I'm most proud of. And it definitely, like, it's supposed to evoke this, like, what is going on? Where am I? I was not expecting this. When I was marketing and blogging about making the game, I never showed anyone this part. I never told anyone. I never shared screenshots. I wanted it to be a complete surprise. And I also wanted it to feel a little creepy because it's totally inspired by those nights where you wake up in the middle of the night.
Wake up.
And you can just hear the sounds of the wind outside the house, and you can't sleep. So you walk around in this like twilight stupor. And I would say the whole first part of this game where you play as the fox, its whole purpose is to set up for this conclusion. So yeah, I would encourage you to look around and see how many things you recognize from the earlier part of the game.
これあったよね。このテレビもあったな。この戸棚もあったやつじゃん。ああ、落ちてたやつはこの家の家具だったんだな。あ、これも。こっちはバスルームか。はあ。ここはどこなんだ。戻ってきたってこと？おお、これいいな、楽しい。欲しい。引っ越してきた。アイトラック。めっちゃホラーゲーみたいな。なんか詰まってる。
I tried hard to foreshadow this epilogue, just because I wanted it to be a surprise, but I didn't want it to feel too out of place that it would be humorous. And so, Joseph, earlier in the game, he would say things like, I felt like I was right behind the fox the whole time. In my mind, the camera perspective acts as a metaphor for who the player is, what they're seeing. If the camera represents Joseph, or just like that video game trope of having the camera follow you. I guess the big question I wanted the player to ask themselves is this a dream as well? And if so, does that even matter?
終わり？これもしかして。いけないよね、あれ。どうすればいいんだ。こっち？こっちか。椅子。なんかあっち光ってるな。あれでもいけない？いけないな。なんで？見えない壁。全然いけない。あっちか？おお、テント。これテントだったの。一応ジャンプできんのか。めっちゃ袋泣いてるね。あっち行けない。 え、どこから行くのが正解なのこれ。合ってる？あれ？これが家？最初の。あれさっきのとこなんだ？さっきあったちっちゃい声なんだ？あれなんだ？これは？特になんかあるわけでもなく。車。いけないな。え、これどこに行けばいいんだ？ほほほう。こっちは坂あるから行けないもんな。へえ、あっちだよね、やっぱり。行けないんだけど。いや、行けないな。なんで？バグ？お？いや、やっぱ行けないんだけど。歩きじゃないといけないとかある？ではない。あっち行けないんだけど。マジ？ちょっとググるか。進めない、マジで。は？テントだって。テントに入らないといけないって。ここ？このテントのこと？ああ、入れた。いや、それは分からんよ。
What the hell?
バッツァ。光る狐を追いかけろ。
I purposefully fade out the crosshair in the middle of the screen because I wanted it to be a direct callback to the camera following the fox in the first 5 levels of the first tree. I wanted it to go for that gut reaction that this was very familiar yet totally in a different world.
太陽昇ってきたな。綺麗だな、風景がすごく。雲がリアル。どこまで行くんですか？結構なとこまで来たな。あれ？いなくなった。あ、めっちゃ光ってる。すごい幻想的。歌い出すよ。息切れてんな。なんなんだ。俺いなくなっちゃったな。コンクルエーション。
Thank you for making it to the end of my game.
Thank
you
I hope
you enjoy the personalized message that is featured on the trunk of this tree. It's a message submitted by another player that's retrieved from a database, and it's retrieved at random. And I did this because I wanted people, even if they feel alone through trials of death, that there is a community, an invisible community supporting each other. So thanks for playing.
親子会えたんだ。よかった。ザ・ファーストツリー。終わったー。いやー、結構時間かかっちゃった。さっき最後に書いてあった昨日 役が、人生は小さな一歩から始まります。その歩数を数えなさい。愛しています。って書いてあるらしいです。トロフィーゲッツ。ザ・ファーストツリーに向けてオンラインデータベースにコメントを提出したいですか？他のプレイヤーにはランダムに表示される可能性があります。可能であれば英語を使用し、ちょっと文字大変なんで、今回は遠慮しときます。おった。ここに3匹いるね。いや、私2匹しか見てなかったけどな。あと1匹、どこにいたんだろう。雰囲気がすごいいいゲームだったね、やっぱり。内容は結局悲しい感じだったけど。ひとまずここで終わりにしますか。ちょっと大変だったけど。いや、来てくれた人ありがとうございました。またそのうち何かやるかもしれないので、また来てください。ではお疲れ様でした。またねー。